really fun to get
And these
to.
guys are going
Oh man, yeah.
slow-mo frisbee throw. He's just trying to make it
Man, the
intercept.
layout Ds and stuff, it is a pretty epic sport. I can highly recommend anyone that's like looking for something to pick up. Like look in your local community or like check if there's like some frisbee pickup and like do that.
Oh, one of my friends, Sergio, follows it from the Salah crew.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe they play
He's
it or
playing
something.
sometimes.
Yeah. Jakarta.
And then a good crossover from frisbee is actually spike ball as well. We do that here at the beach. It's really fun. Have you heard of that?
I maybe from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically a lot of frisbee players play spike ball now. It's kind of like grown in that community. It's like a little net where you have 2 versus 2, a little bit like volleyball, but instead of getting the ball over the net, you like it's basically spiking it into the net, and then you have 3 contacts to get back into the net. It can't touch the ground. It's also really fun to watch the highlight reels of that. It's also no contact,
Spike
of course.
ball. I need to think about something for Crate. I mean, we've got a podcast producer sitting in the next room who is very much into contact with MMA. I don't know what Dan's into. I think Dan's trying to start surfing, and then I've got a few of the other boys that are into different things. Maybe we need to find something like this. What's the spike one? Spike ball.
Spike ball, yeah.
Oh yeah, here we go.
The frisbee community is a bit annoyed because I think they have a bigger shot at becoming Olympic before frisbee is, even though frisbee has been around for a very
Which
long
one?
time.
Spike ball does.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's a rumor that it might get become Olympic. It's like an easy Olympic sport, I guess, because it's pretty easy to organize. Whereas like a 7-on-7, like
Oh, I've seen this where they're hitting like. Is that it?
dude, it's
Damn,
pretty
this
fun.
guy's launching himself over the thing. That's crazy, man. So you're doing this as well?
We're doing this just like casually, like usually on the beach, like let's say Tuesdays or something, or sometimes Sundays. It's fun to kind of have a nice balance, especially here in Bali. It's so easy to do that. I mean, you obviously have a kid now, so that's it's a bit of a distraction there. But for us, everyone in our company is pretty like athletic and pretty competitive, and that shows as well in like the work attitude, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And for example, our metadata girl, she's from Indonesia. She's like a black belt karate, and she will even like competed for the Indonesian national team and everything. So, and that attitude and discipline 100% shows in like the way that she like works as well.
How so? Give me an example of seeing the.
She's just on top of everything right away. Like even when we like have to force her not to week during the weekends and stuff. Because she's just working whenever it's like necessary and like cranking through things. It's a big shout out to Merlin. She's
shout
awesome.
out Merlin.
Yeah,
black belt, first dan, second dan. You know.
Oh, dude, this over my pay grade.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that you know the martial arts is helping with the work attitude and how they're kind of one and the same.
100%.
And maybe her work ethic is helping with her martial arts, and it's all because it all comes from the same system.
Yeah, it's being a bit competitive, being disciplined, being kind of like I don't know, and especially with frisbee, that's also a team sport.
Yeah.
So of course, like everyone wants to be successful together, right? And that spirit is definitely there.
Super important. Did everyone get into for Songstats? Was everyone into the frisbee at the start, or were a few of you into it and slowly everyone got into it?
I got introduced to it like 4 years ago by Jack. He's always
how old is Songstats and 1001Tracklists?
So 1001 was founded about 10 years ago, actually.
Okay.
And then Songstats kind of like branched off of that maybe about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then after the first year, that's when Jack joined. He's our CTO. Shout out to Jack. He introduced me to...
Yo, Jack. Shout out.
Yeah, he's the head behind the code. So any bug is on him. No, that's not true. But all the cool innovations are definitely coming from there. And he's awesome. And he introduced me. He just brought me to pickup one day, and then of course I picked it up. And now 4 years later, we're playing very competitively in this team. And we introduced like Merlin now, the girl we just talked about. She also started playing now, and she's also pretty good. She's playing in this like all Indonesian team that we mentioned. So.
What can come out of this tournament this weekend? Can you guys become? What's the prize?
There's I know the tournament directors because in this case it's organized in Bali. There's no like big prize or whatever. Like it's
But
all
like a position, like national champion or state, like how does it? What kind of?
It's really, most of these tournaments are kind of are basically just like you go as a team, you try to do as best as you can, and then of course you're gonna
And you can
be
be
awarded a medal or something.
Winner of the tournament.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's not really any money in Ultimate, like unless you like in the AUDL, as we said, that's like the highest league in the States. You know, they have a couple of sponsors and stuff, but otherwise, even and I talked with the guys that
it's not about the money, right? Though it's about trying to do as best you can and get a better.
For us, not at all.
Yeah, get a better position
exactly
than you did last tournament.
And I love the lead up to a tournament more oftentimes than I actually like the tournament. The tournament is always fun, and then afterwards you have this like called post tournament depression, where like you burn so many endorphins doing like a tournament, a little bit like going to a club in Ibiza, you know. That afterwards you're a bit depressed for a couple of days.
Yeah. What do you like? What do you think it is that in the lead up to a tournament that you enjoy more? What are some of
the training is more intense. We're actually coming together as a team. It feels like everyone's really focused, and it's been really, really awesome. So
it's almost like built into the culture of Songstats now, and
100%.
1001Tracklists.
It's almost like we are looking for people who are a cultural fit at this point when we hire, because we don't necessarily need to hire someone that's just like, you know, like a random person that doesn't really connect with electronic music, or that doesn't really connect with, I mean, in a way, everyone connects with music, but of course we're looking for someone with a similar mindset, similar attitude, and usually we find that these people are the way better fit anyway. So because you can connect, you can have the same things to talk about, and
I've known about 1001Tracklists for probably about 8 years, I think, because I've been in Bali for maybe 7.
Wow.
And then there was a couple of years before that, and I got onto it because it was a way of finding out who's playing our music. Chronologically, that's been around longer than Songstats. So give us a story about how you got involved in 1001Tracklists and how it's kind of evolved and where you're at now. Like, how did it start? Who started it? It's a really cool concept, and it's very community driven, which I love. You know?
It's a pretty interesting story. So the original website was founded by a German database developer. His name is Jan. He basically had a big passion, or always had a big passion, for electronic music. He was at like Love Parade, and he always found it very annoying to figure out what songs were actually played during a DJ set. So back in that time, there was essentially a couple of forums that would maybe like discuss it, but then you had to like scroll down and find someone on page 3 that like commented what the track ID was, right? So then Jan said like, look, I can do this better. I'm a database engineer. I could just like make it so that you can edit the tracks in the track list, so then anyone that like opens it can immediately see it, right? So that's how 1001Tracklists was born. At the beginning, he was actually like faking users, which is an interesting thing as well.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Exactly, like
just to test it out.
Yeah, so instead of like every track list being posted by like admin or whatever, he would like create like one user that would only post like trance sets, and then another that would post like more underground sets, so that it looked like other users would contribute. So that was like
he's setting the example.
Exactly. And then other users would actually join in and be like, oh, I can contribute here. I know what that track was. And then that's how that entire thing got a little bit kicked off in a sense, which was really smart. And it's 100% community driven. So there's no
fake users anymore.
Jan is on top of like all of this stuff.
So now you're trying to iron, if you find fake users, you're trying to iron them out, right? And get them out of the community.
There's no such thing as like fake users. There's definitely like everyone tries to get their track lists in because it's really obviously having the exposure. So 1001Tracklists right now has about 600 to 700,000 monthly active users.
Yep.
It depends a little bit on the season. Of course, if it's festival season and Ultra is kicking off, then everyone is on the site. But then
Did you say if Ultra's kicking off, the Ultra Festival?
Ultra in March is usually the big one where like everyone premieres their new IDs, because that's like kind of the beginning of the season in a sense, and then like that gets a lot of hype.
Is this at WMC, Winter Music Conference?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's usually when it starts kicking off, and then of course there's Tomorrowland. There's a lot of content essentially, and then usually like during the winter it's a bit slower. But in general, yeah, we have a pretty good system of determining who's eligible to upload track lists, because we don't want every bedroom DJ to be able to upload their sets. Not because we don't value their sets, but the thing is that their track lists don't have any reach. And ultimately, you want the track list on the side to be kind of like track lists that were performed at like a bigger radio show, at a bigger stage, in a festival, in a club, or by a producer in a sense, right? So for us, it's mostly about producers that also make their own music. And so we have some like eligibility. That's a difficult eligibility rules, exactly.
Yeah.
Where you as if you're a producer and you had like one track that had a lot of support, that makes you eligible, or if you had like 3 tracks that had decent support, that also makes you eligible. So then in that moment you can request to be able to upload your own track list as well.
Right.
So, but in a sense, we kind of want like more artists to be there.
Creators.
Exactly.
Who are already kind of maybe middle class.
Who have a following, exactly.
Playing at some of the big clubs or recognized clubs or festivals.
Yeah. So, and that works really, really well, because ultimately 1001Tracklists is a huge discovery platform. So for users, it's great to discover music. So we have a lot of tools that make it really nice and cool. So of course you can view the track list, but then you can open any track on your favorite streaming platform. So you can like open it, or if you want to download, you can open it in Beatport, etc. We also included a new feature about, I think it was 2 years ago, for saving tracks directly to your Spotify, liked songs, and even pre-saving them. So that's a really cool thing, because if you as an artist, let's say you have a track that's coming up and you promo it out to DJs, right? What is happening is you're basically giving a track away for free.
Yep.
And then that track is being performed, let's say, by someone big on a stage, right?
Yep.
A lot of people view that track list and they see, oh, wow, this is like an ID, right? It's not even announced maybe who the artist behind it is. But they can already pre-save that song to their collection, so that when later the community finds out who's actually behind that track, and then that track is being released on Spotify, it's actually getting immediately put into your Spotify collection. So you might discover a song that you pre-saved on 1001 like a year ago that you didn't even know who the artist was, that then suddenly shows up in your Spotify and you're like, wow, this track is sick. And at that time you didn't even know who was behind it. So it really closes.
That's cool.
It closes this cycle of
discovery.
Discovery, exactly. You promoting the song actually then can result in it actually being streamed as well in a streaming service, even though you promote it to a DJ. Then a DJ performs it, 1001Tracklist picks it up, the user pre-saves it. So it's like a whole little ecosystem that works really well. So that's the reason why, of course, DJ promo is pretty important, especially in electronic music. We highly recommend everyone to try to get their new songs to those bigger names to perform them.
Do you guys offer a promo service?
We recently started doing it, and there was a little bit of controversy, or not controversy, but a little bit of internal debate about it, because ultimately we're an objective platform. We report on or the users kind of the DJs perform what they perform. We don't really have so much influence over this. So for us to kind of step in and offer our own DJ promo and kind of sending songs out to DJs might have seemed a little bit controversial in a sense where we suddenly play our own game in a way. But in a sense, we discussed that with a couple of the other promo companies that are out there, the bigger ones, and ultimately, I mean, we may be running 1 or 2 campaigns per week of tracks that we feel deserve more exposure anyway. So we build up our own promo list of DJs, and of course that list is pretty substantial now because a lot of people know 1001Tracklists and are interested. And
how many DJs do you have on that list now?
I'd have to ask Jacob, but I think we're pretty big. We use InFly to send out these campaigns mostly, and of course sometimes we do direct emailing to the artist that campaign wants to target. We're very selective over not sending some techno artist, some EDM track. Just because we want to make sure that if you're subscribed to the list, you get music that's relevant to you. Because I oftentimes see that I'm being sent so many demos, and it's even for me as an artist, it's I'm never gonna play this stuff or promo, sorry. And ultimately it's been good. I mean, 1001 is more considered, I think, at this point, or our monetary side is more considered like a media business in a way. Like we do a lot of like campaigns for artists to grow their exposure, not just through advertising on 1001, but through, for example, our social media, which has been growing very rapidly. And big shout out here to Fahim. He's the social media genius behind like all the Instagram stuff, and Jacob, of course, is taking care of all the Facebook. And yeah, it's
you guys got 550K followers, man.
It's one of the most engaged, I think, electronic music Instagram pages at this point. So, I mean, we have a lot of artists sending us content, and of course, we're curating it to make sure that like it's relevant and people discover something cool and new, and it's fun, you know.
That's awesome. So this started 10 years ago, and by a German database engineer, Jacob. Is it
Jan?
Yeah. Okay. And how did it find you, and how did you get involved and join the team? And when was that?
Yeah, the 1001 team, I kind of got involved with Jan. I have to lie, probably like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, give or take.
I can't remember. I was living in China at that time, in Shanghai actually.
Yeah.
So it must have been 7 years ago then, because I'm 7 years in Bali already. Yeah. So it's or right at that time. Yeah. I was running a music licensing network on YouTube actually at that time, and basically we were licensing DJ mixes. So let's say, because that's kind of how I got involved more in electronic music, like mixing a mix on YouTube, for example, a 1 hour mix, and I grew a channel, and then I got taken down because we didn't have the rights to it, which was
the rights to the music.
Yeah, of course. And that was like one pretty big channel at that time. Like I think we grew it to over 100,000 subscribers within like a year, and that was like one of the top 100
What was it
channels.
called?
That one was called Electro Bootleg Music.
Electro Bootleg Music.
So you already know it's bootleg, basically. So it got taken down, and then like my next approach then was like, okay, how about like I contact these labels, because these mixes actually have a pretty good reach, and that was before every DJ would like run radio shows and mixes themselves.
And this was before YouTube channels were curating music and getting paid, like kind of being like an outlet for showcasing new music.
Yeah.
Now they get paid to do it on their playlists and stuff.
Exactly,
right?
the promo channels. Yeah.
You're just a little bit early.
Yeah.
You know, because people are doing what you do now.
Yeah, in a way, it kind of like paved the ecosystem, and YouTube was also still figuring itself out. It was like
hadn't done the deals with the big labels.
The majors.
Yeah,
I think they were, but like they had to renew them every 2 years, and it was always like quite a big like drama around it, because the majors are pretty rough communicating or negotiating their new deals, even with like Spotify, like renewing them. They always want to get a lot out of it. Like now, I don't know how like public knowledge this is, but like most of the spots and like the big editorial playlists are owned by the major labels. It's part of the negotiation with Spotify and also with the other services, is that their music, of course, gets a lot of exposure, and they have to negotiate that way, right? So
really Spotify is geared towards the majors, and they're the gatekeepers, and these lists they've either acquired, if it's not their own label, they've acquired a curator's list. And
yeah, I mean, say it's like a big Spotify editorial playlist, then probably editorial, then probably like they reserve slots essentially for like they just, the majors are basically sending through their priorities for that week, for example, and then they're like, okay, let's slot those in, right? And so obviously, but it's in the interest of the majors to do that. A little bit sidetracked there, but let's say with YouTube at that time, it was just like it was little bit more of like a Wild West in terms of licensing still, especially for something like DJ mixes, which is not like a straight upload of one song, but it's more like a series of tracks mixed together, right? But ultimately, labels have the rights to take down these videos. And then, of course, if you get multiple strikes when videos are taken down, you get entire channels being removed. So that's what happened to me originally. And so I started growing another channel, and I actually grew that to over 1 million subscribers within like 2 or 3 years, which was pretty intense. And
what was that?
That was called Electro Dance Movement. So which was short for EDM as well, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I actually sold that channel. I never made money of it. So that's the thing. Like, basically, I reached out to the labels. I reached out to especially electronic labels, which were way more open to this than the majors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like, okay, like, look, last time this channel grew to like 100,000 subscribers, and like on average, each like mix gets like 1 million views. Like, it's a great way to promote your music. How about like you give us the rights to do it? And they were like, okay, sure. And then basically it was becoming in a way like a promo thing, but I never made money of it, right? So ultimately, when I was in Shanghai, I sold that channel to someone else that now curates it.
Is that still going? The channel?
I have to check up. I checked up on it like a couple of times. Like
Let's
last time was
look,
like a year ago or something.
Electro dance movement.
I think it must still be going. Yeah, look it up.
And you got it to 1 million subscribers.
It was almost at 1 million.
Almost.
I was a bit annoyed because I would have really liked that plaque. Like YouTube gives you these like awards, like Golden Play Awards, and that was like the OG awards still, not like these new ones, the lame ones. But I think I have like 4 of the silver ones.
You do?
Yeah.
Mate, you're such a G. I love it. You're just a go-getter, man. We need more people in this industry that have your mindset. Electro dance movement. When I type that in, I finally signed up to Premiere?
YouTube Premium. Oh man, I've been preaching that for
life changing. It's changed my life.
Good.
It's awesome.
It's so good.
I mean, it's bullshit in the sense where, you're like, oh, I've got to buy it to like the hook is when you minimize YouTube, and you can't do it. And I thought that was a really clever catch.
Yeah.
But just going to preach this a little bit with you and join the bandwagon. It's really, really good signing up because life's just better because those ads are killing me.
Oh, I hate ads.
And not only is it worth paying not to see them, but everything just works so much better. It's like, oh, this is how it should work.
That's the experience that you want.
The experience. And I'm anti kind of algo as well. Like I'm not really big on algorithms telling me what I want to see only because I don't sometimes think it can be a bit dangerous creating like an echo chamber.
Right.
Yeah. Because then I might be getting a bit delusional, and sometimes I like to see opinions that contradict what I'm trying to look up. I like to look up some things and see what are both sides saying.
Yeah.
But so far, pretty good, really.
YouTube is awesome.
YouTube's great, man.
Another big argument
and the content people are making and how people are putting stuff together.
It's awesome, huh?
Man, it's...
I've to be honest, YouTube has been since the beginning my primary media of consumption. Like, I'm not really like consuming any TV, not much Netflix.
Don't Blink just came up. 9 million views, man. 7 years ago. Yeah. Where do I find you guys? Where do I find this channel? Let's find this channel, man. Sorry, bro, I just cut you off, but electro dance movement, one word maybe?
Yeah, it's all one word, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to make another argument for getting YouTube Premium, which is if you spend these $9.99 or whatever it is per month on that, right? YouTube is taking a cut, which is, I think, traditionally 45%. That's what YouTube is taking. And then 55% are going to creators, right? So the way that YouTube pays out is, for premium at least, by watch time.
Mm-hmm.
So that means if you, for example, like repeatedly watch the same creators because you really like their content.
They're getting paid.
And they're getting paid significantly more from these, like, let's say in the pool, there's like $550 per month now because $450 is YouTube's cut. So of these $550 for that month, let's say you watch one channel 10% of that time, they would get like 55 cents, right, from this pool, which is significantly more than they would make if you were to watch ads. Like, you would have to watch like hundreds of ads for that channel to make that same amount. So in a way, you're also supporting creators more by like you signing up.
That's a pretty fair business model, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
I can't find. Can you tell me? Like, can you try and find it, bro? I need your.
Electro dance movement. I mean,
is that it?
Most of these videos are actually maybe they did change the name, or we can filter by channel. But let's see.
Man, that's like each time you get involved in something, you're leveling up.
I think
you're like a black belt.
They probably changed the name.
No.
I see some of my old channels popping up here. Definitely a lot of my old channels popping up. But maybe they changed the name. I can look it up. I'll send it to you later.
So here you are with like down and out, but not out not down, but channel being. How does that feel when that third strike or that strike came in and you lost your channel for that first thing, the electro bootleg
music?
How long did it take you to bounce back firstly and go, I'm going to keep going? Why did you do that?
I was very young, to be fair, at that point. I was
how old were you?
15, I want to say.
Wow.
So it's like I was basically I really started going into electronic music like going to some clubs in Brighton. Yeah. That's how I started loving electronic music. Basically, I was growing up in Belgium, and then at like age 15, I think we moved back to Germany. And for the summer, my parents would just put me into like a summer camp in Brighton in the UK. And basically it was like a bunch of like 15, 16-year-olds. And basically they organized these like parties where like 15, 16-year-olds could just like go and party. And like they would play only electronic music. Like I remember them playing like Dizzy Rascal, Bonkers. And then they're playing like, and then they're playing David Guetta, all like
Kid Cudi, Day and Night.
100, that was exactly my era where I was like, damn, LMFAO was huge. I was like, damn, this is so cool. So basically I went there and I always had like a thing for collecting music. So actually the dad of my cousin, he would every month like rip, or I don't know where he got these from, but rip me CDs of the top 100 single charts and the top 100 album charts. It would be like 2 DVDs like of like 4.8 gigs every month that he would like pass me on. And I would like sort through them, pick up anything that I like. I would burn CDs. I had a crush like when I was like 12 or 13 years old, and she just sent me a picture about a year ago of like a CD that I created for her with a whole track list written of every song, like handwritten. And she's like, I'm going to keep this. It's pretty cool.
Do you remember getting your first CD burner and going, I got a CD burner? Do you remember that? And it's like Right Speed 4X or something.
Oh, dude, it would take forever, but that's what made it so much more special to curate those songs on there, right? Like every track had to be considered, right?
It had to be considered because you didn't have abundance of storage. Right, well, you could only fit these were 70, 80 minutes?
70 minutes, yeah.
70 minutes or something.
Yeah.
You know, that scarcity really makes like that track, and I did the same thing.
Cool, huh?
Yeah.
So crazy. I mean,
I started on cassette tape recording the radio.
Yeah, I was about to say, I never experienced that era or the vinyl era. I'm too young for that, but sick.
So you're in Brighton, you're getting exposed to electronic music, and then you're getting these kind of nicely curated chart tracks that are charting from your cousin's dad.
Right? Yeah, pretty crazy. Right? Yeah.
And is this when you decided to start bootlegs yourself? You started digging?
Yeah, thinking back, it's like a really weird like gift to gift like a 13-year-old or 14-year-old to like just rip DVDs for him and then giving that to for like Christmas or something.
Nice,
it's super cool though.
It's cool.
I think it's a good like uncle move right there. But it's
better than undies and socks.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically I started off using Virtual DJ. Virtual DJ,
I remember that.
Didn't even have a controller. It was all with the freaking mouse and the keyboard, like doing some shortcuts. That was it. All I would do is like I would like kind of like line up the tracks, kind of how I felt like they would work, and then I didn't even like. Now I know that like a lot of the sets for radio shows, they are like just like puzzled together in Ableton, right? Like you just like plug a track, like transition out, transition in. Like
on Virtual DJ, before I was a DJ, I remember being in New York, raising money for a social network startup, and then DJing at parties because I lived with this fashion photographer, so we just have models coming over all the time, and I'd be like, okay, these girls like partying. All right, I'm playing some music. We started, and all of a sudden, I remember one time I was on our rooftop in Lower East Side with Virtual DJ and like 2 computer speakers with this like little house party. Like this is like 14 years ago or 15 or ages ago, right? And that was Virtual DJ where you could slide the thing over.
Exactly.
And I remember literally getting offered 2 residencies in Lower East Side because people saw that, and I'm just like, what's going on? And then I came back a DJ.
Yeah.
Right? I came back to Australia, linked up with my mate Olsen, and started getting into it, like on actual decks.
It's an enabler because it's
enabler,
free.
man.
It was free.
It was free. Or
Yeah.
I think I got it like on a cracked site or like, Virtual DJ 3.1. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah.
super simple.
Super simple. You can hit record, done.
Yeah.
You have it.
So that's how you started doing.
That's how I did all of the mixes. And the thing is, like, it is very limiting as well to only have a mouse and a keyboard. Like, there's no effects.
Yeah.
There's nothing. You
I
basically.
think they came out with effects at some point. Do you remember?
Potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, but I wasn't really using them because.
Just track. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I had to just like. With the mouse, click on like the
Catch
like,
it, get the
treble
line, the
or something,
grid.
like bring it down. Yeah, exactly. Like it's hilarious thinking back. But I would record these 1 hour mixes that are essentially themed. So I would do like a mix, let's say like a 1 hour or even 2 hour, like a sunset summer vibe mix or something like this. And then it would be a little bit more progressive in a way or deeper house. And then like sometimes I would just do like a banging electro mix or whatever, and like a little bit like variety. And that's how I came up actually with my first artist name, which was Styline.
Styline.
Yes. And basically it was just like, okay, there's like all different kinds of style. Like essentially that's kind of like, that's how I thought about it. It like, thinking back, it's like a bit of a weird name, and I had a weird logo, and then I changed it. It was a bit better, but I never really, in the end,
Sounds very 80s Styline.
Once I matured a bit more, it felt like childish and dumb. But like, you just have to own up for it then at this point,
That's it, man.
But yeah, so these mixes came out. That new channel grew to like 1 million, basically.
So you're doing virtual DJ on the channel that got shut down?
I was doing it there, and then it got shut down, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep going. I'll just create a new one. Fuck it.
And then you started negotiating with
the labels.
With the labels.
Yeah. So I reached out. I was like, okay, well, look, I'm using your music a lot. Like these channels are having a good reach. I will put your track list in like the description.
Did you ever reach out to Australian labels like One Love and Ministry Sound?
One Love for sure. Yeah. I definitely maybe like Sweat It Out.
Sweat It Out. Yeah.
And I definitely did like all the big Germans. Contour was the biggest one in Germany that licenses
Massive,
like Spinnin' and stuff like this. Spinnin',
Yeah.
Armada, like anything in that realm. The electronic ones
And
were
was everyone
on board.
pretty quick to be like, yeah, we're cool with this?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think with especially because it was so new and they saw it as like exposure. It's basically like a playlist, right? I'm just doing a curated playlist. It's music discovery. They have their links in the description, and ultimately, if that mix gets 1 million streams, someone will like want to listen to his music more, buy that music and stuff, right? So it was very cool. So that was nice, but then I never made a single dime of that, right?
How long were you doing that for?
That channel was growing for maybe 2 or 3 years until
2 or 3 years working out from passion.
Yeah, and 1 million again at that time was a lot on
That's a
YouTube.
lot, man.
Like it's still a lot
is.
now. Yeah. But back then it felt like wow. So because so many people liked electronic music, so many people got into it, and then also like the EDM / like big room era really like started kicking off with like Tomorrowland and like the progressive like Alesso sound. But that became a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
So those mixes would get a lot. I have to say that I wasn't actually running these channels all by myself. I had like there was 2 friends that they would provide like guest mixes essentially. And at some point I also started doing like some mix series where I like invite like some producers to like do like a guest part and stuff. So basically, I would just run these on the side, actually. It's just like when I had enough cool music to do a mix in one star, I would like record it and upload it.
What made you, how come you guys were in China? Because your folks were working there, or is that why you ended up in China, or you were there for work instead?
It was just me, actually.
Okay.
So
you're not a teenager anymore when you're in China?
The first time I went to China I was 16.
Okay.
By myself, actually, just with a friend.
Yeah.
I was there for an internship at a chemistry company called BASF.
Okay.
It was like a polyurethane kind of like,
yeah,
I don't know, like weird thing. But when I moved back to Germany, the school that I went to, they had this like really cool program where I could essentially go to university while still doing high school. So it was like a collaboration project between. Yeah, it was like a collaboration project between like this high school that I went to and the Technical University of Munich, which is like one of the more renowned universities for technical engineering.
Is that where you're from, Munich? Yeah.
No.
No.
We just moved there because of my dad.
Yeah.
But that was awesome. I mean, basically, I had a really hard time the first year I moved back to Munich because I don't know if it's like an attitude thing in Bavaria or something, but like in Belgium, for example, where I was living before in Brussels, I was there for 8 years, and every year in our school we would have like new kids coming, and so basically all like the parents, they would all like either be journalists, politicians, or NATO. That's like the three ways, and they usually would be positioned in Brussels for like 2 or 3 years.
So which ones were your parents?
My dad is a journalist.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
But sport journalist. But yeah. But yeah, so basically you would usually like get to know someone for like 2 or 3 years, and then they would like
a
move
lot
out
of transition.
Again. Exactly.
Yeah.
So every like year we would have like 20 kids leaving, 20 new kids coming. So you're always open, a lot of different cultures, really like open-minded. And then I'm coming to Munich, and I'm coming to a grade that had like 150 students or something in that school. And I'm the only person
in the grade, or the whole school was 150 students?
No, in that grade.
In that grade, yeah.
So it was like maybe like
3 classes, or
it was like 5 classes. Maybe it's a little bit less than 150. Maybe like 100, maybe 20, 25 per class, and then so let's say 120. But I'm the only person that year to join.
You're the new guy.
I'm the new guy, and then all these kids, they were together since like kindergarten, right? And I'm like, oh damn. And I was definitely a bit nerdy at that time, you know, doing my own things and like hacking away. I mean, I always loved computers and like I don't know, so doing music or whatever. So
building AMD computers.
Exactly. So I had a hard time that year, and then basically it was one of the reasons why I applied for this project.
I mean, how does that even, like, how old are you when you?
That was 15 again. 15. It was the same thing. And maybe that's why I was so obsessed with like this YouTube stuff. And, just like
it was like an outlet, right, where you could actually do something without.
Yeah.
So how did you even? Like, I just have this scene of you at lunchtime, and you're like, where do I go? You know what I mean? Like, did they give you a guy, like a buddy, to show you around? You know, I remember in high school when someone new came, sometimes like I had to show them around and you know, like help them integrate. Did you have any of that, or were you just sitting alone and making mixtapes for girls? You know,
to be honest, I can't remember. I mean, I was not
hectic.
like that big of an outsider. To be fair. It was just like a little bit harder for me there, and I to be honest, I don't remember.
Yeah,
it was fine, but it ultimately
was it that traumatic that you forgot?
Yeah, I was just like really focused on my own thing. I didn't care.
Yeah,
but it ultimately led me to apply to this program, which was this collaboration program between the university, because that was like 1 year before high school that I moved there, and then I would enter high school. I was like, okay, I will apply for this. And my parents were like, sure, you can apply. It's up to you, kind of thing, right? And I was like, okay, well, I'll try. And to be fair, like my grades were always pretty good, like, but they weren't like outstanding. And I was a little bit nervous, like, okay, well, and ultimately I was like, okay, well, the teachers will know best. Like, they will read my application and they will decide. And then I got accepted right away. They didn't even do an interview with me. They did an interview with like a bunch of other kids, and I was like, wow. And it's only 15 students that ultimately got accepted for this, and there was quite a lot of applications, I think. So I was pretty happy that they chose me in a way. But obviously also a bit nervous, because now suddenly you're like in a room with like 14 other like excellent students, and that's kind of what happened. But honestly, that was the best time of my life. Like these other students were all like super nerdy as well, but super fun, and and we were really good. Like, and I think they chose me for a reason as well, because I'm a little bit more of like a, you know, not like the traditional like study type that like sits down and like whatever, but more like a little bit like connecting groups and a bit more like that. And then so I feel like everyone in this, like,
you probably had to learn that from the traveling, right?
Yeah, traveling, and obviously
making fast friends and stuff. You know, just connecting quicker.
Yes,
you know. You don't have to worry about, because not everyone around you've known since kindergarten. You've had to be out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I'm glad that they saw that. I mean, they chose me for maybe that reason. I'm not so sure if that's one of the only reasons, but I certainly fit that bill in that group that we were then. So, but part of that program allowed us to do a 1-month international internship.
And this gets you to China.
Yes.
Can you speak Chinese?
No.
No?
When I was there, I was living in China for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
I was like, at the very beginning, I was like, okay, should I like spend time learning this, or do I not see myself here after some time? And I was like, I'm not gonna spend the effort, because if you do it, you would have to do it properly. I did like the basic like taxi Chinese. Like I can tell a taxi driver go left, go right.
Yeah.
But I don't like, it's too
Taxi
difficult.
Chinese. It's a good song name.
Taxi Chinese. You go like Ichizo, Yogoi.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, anyway, I mean, I took that decision pretty consciously and said I have other things that I want to focus my mind on than learning Chinese. Just because I didn't see myself there, and ultimately that turned out true. I was there for 1.5 years, and then. Not saying that it's not a good thing to learn Chinese if you see yourself there, or if your like field of work requires or like would benefit significantly from speaking Chinese. But honestly, in electronic music or in music in general, everything is international, everything is English, and the Chinese are really good at learning English and adapting the culture. How did
it come about the selling opportunity for this second venture? Did someone come to you and offer you, or did you start getting the idea of I need to make some money?
I was kind of blackmailed in a sense with it.
Right.
So because this channel was pretty big at that time, and then basically someone definitely had some claims of music on that, and they were kind of like, okay, well, like
So a label bought it off you?
It was
a publisher?
It was kind of like a distributor.
Yeah.
I mean,
can you say which distributor bought it? Are you allowed to say that?
I'm not going to say since they were kind of like pushing the buttons as well. But it's like a smaller German distributor. It wasn't even like major of a thing. So I was a little bit pissed off with this. But like that's the way it goes. And ultimately,
is this one like? Do you look back at this experience and has that helped shape your way in business now too? Do you think? Because you were pretty young, right?
Yeah, at that point I was 18, I think.
Yeah.
And
that's still like
19.
that's still sort
19,
of just getting into university kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
and here you are, you've built up an asset that's
it definitely was an
trying
asset
to buy.
But they were
using
like
aggressive tactics to buy it.
Correct. They were like, okay, we're either gonna like strike you and like try to take it down or whatever, or you sell it to us. So ultimately, I was like, okay, well, I don't know how long-lived this is, and ultimately, I lost the first channel by chance, and I never made a single dime. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it's a sign. Like maybe, like this is like something that I'm like not in full control over. It's like depending on so many like moving parts on YouTube, like being on my side, on the record labels still allowing me to renew these like licensing deals. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it's the right like move. So actually,
you actually had that capacity to see it like that at 18, that there are so many variables outside of your control that it's high risk potentially, because at any point this could be taken away.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I was like, look, I lost my other channel. This one is now at 1 million. I don't want to lose it too without making anything.
Anyone tell you how smart you are, man? Do you ever get that?
Oh, thank you.
This is 18, This is the shit that I start figuring out at like 27, just so you know. I'm a bit slower than you, but
we all get there.
Yeah, we got there in the end, bro.
Yeah. Now you're running Crate, man. It's awesome. Yeah. I mean,
excited to talk to you about that. So you sold it. Did you make okay money?
Not as much as I should have made. I think I made around 25 grand.
Okay.
For a 1 million subscriber channel, which was
what's that per? That's an easy calculation, right? Let's say it's 1 million, right? 1 million divided by 20, is it?
25,000. Yeah.
Oops.
I mean, look, the channel certainly has a higher value if you were to monetize it correctly.
$40 a person.
No. It's
subscriber.
No, I think it's no, that can't be right. I think it's like 40 per dollar, right? 40 subscribers per dollar.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, the other way around.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think if you monetize them correctly, like a channel with 1 million subscribers can make much more money. Like it could probably make that in like 2 months or 3 months if you do it properly. But I don't have the commercial rights to do it. So like it was never worth like any like monetary value for me. It was just like sentimental value at this point. And I was like, okay, well, I will let it go. And I will take the money. And that was the right decision because that money helped funding the next business.
Yeah, so now, are you arriving at 1001 Tracklists by this stage, or still is there another business?
There's still something in between. So
hit me, bro. What's the next one? I like it.
Well, the next one was the Music Licensing Network now. Okay. So basically I sold that channel, but I had all these connections to all of these labels. And so basically I approached YouTube and I asked them, like, I was like, okay, look, what I want to do is create like a multi-channel network that YouTube has. It's called an MCN, or a content management system, essentially. They provide the system for anyone that owns a lot of rights, essentially. So what I was doing is proving to YouTube that I had these licenses for a lot of music, and I would approach these labels again and be like, okay, now instead of doing it just for my own channel, I will do it across like kind of like a catalog, a network of channels that all is like curated by these various DJs. But then I wouldn't have to upload the mixes anymore. Basically, I would just take applications from channels on YouTube. And in a way, we pretty much like grew it to having a monopoly on it, because we were like the only network like this that was like solely focused.
What was this called?
This was called Arcane Network, essentially. Arcane, yeah. So
there's a really cool anime called Arcane based on the game.
They bought the domain of me.
Really?
For $100,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Epic.
Yeah,
he bought it off you. That's a story.
I did not know that it was them.
Yeah. You didn't know at the time when the offer came in.
At that point, Arcane was already done. So I sold all the assets of Arcane. And then like this happened only about a year ago, like 1.5 years ago. I got approached by like a domain broker. That's usually what happens. Yeah. And they like offered me like penny money for it. It's like an arcane.com domain. It's like a 6-letter.com domain. It's quite is worth a lot, right? So I think I can say I sold for $100,000. I mean, there's no like NDA or something, but
how did you negotiate the $100,000? Did you just go $100,000 and they took it?
No, I was like, they offered first like 20 or something, and then like 30, and they kept like trying. They used some pretty smart strategies. So I only found this out later.
Walk me through the strategy, man. Let's go. So how to sell a domain for $100,000.
No, how to sell the domain, but also their strategy. So ultimately,
how to buy a domain.
How to buy a domain
for the best price.
Yeah. So what they're doing is they have two websites. They have one website which is like looking kind of like crappy and old school, and that's the website. So I think in this case, and people can look this up, I think they were like Bighorn Consultants or something like this. And then you look this up, and it looks a bit like retro and old school, and you're like, but like good enough.
Ma and Pa, Middle America.
Good enough that you would think like maybe they're legit, but like also not like too flashy. So you think, oh, they have a lot of money behind them, right?
Right.
But then upon Googling this, they are actually just like the backbone of like this like really fancy, good looking domain broker that they use to win clients, right? So they work with like Coca-Cola, with like all the big like whatever like brands. Exactly. So they basically, Coca-Cola reached out to them. They're like, okay, we want this domain or whatever. And then they contact the actual domain owner through this like weird like looking site, because it will push the price down, right? If you know that they have Coca-Cola as a client, you'll immediately be like, the budget must be outrageous, right? And then the next strategy that they used was to, I was just like analyzing it afterwards in my own head. I was like, how did they like
post-match analysis?
Exactly, yeah. Because so they basically they reached out first, and they just like they weren't too pushy. They just like reached out once, and then like they reached out another time, maybe like a month later, and they really let time fly between it. It wasn't like oh, we really need this domain, because if they give me this like feeling like they really want it, I'll probably drive the price up, right? So ultimately they had me actually set a value, and because they at that point they were like maybe offering like 20 or 30. I was like, I'm not selling it under 6 digits. That's basically what I said. And then they offered 100, and I was like, in my head I had this like as a value, 100. I was like, okay, this domain is just sitting there. I could potentially use it again in the future. I'm not so sure if it will grow further in value.
At the time, had you already wrapped up the business that was running under that banner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I could like take this money, or I could like wait for another offer. I mean, I got different offers over time for this domain, but never that serious. So I was like, at the end, I was just like, okay, I'm selling it. So that went through really smoothly. You usually use like a man in the middle kind of like website that like holds the domain for you.
arcane.com.
arcane.com. Yeah, that was my domain. Actually, you can probably look it up in like the DNS like registry that I was like the owner of it. But yeah, now it's literally the official website of the Netflix show. And it's like League of Legends. Yeah, it's freaking sick, huh? So when I found that out, I immediately binge watched the entire series. And
How
it's
good
awesome.
is it?
It's so
amazing.
awesome. It's so good.
Trish
I
got
loved
me
it.
onto that, man.
Yeah, it was so good. The art of it is insane. It's so good. And
what a cool story. So hang on. You've come up with 6 figures in your mind. They've put in the offer at $100,000.
Yeah.
Then what? You just went.
I said, okay, let's do it, and then they kind of you basically use like a a website in between that holds the domain and holds the funds and then only releases them once they have both. Because it's too risky. If I now transfer that domain to them before receiving the money, that's like too risky, right? Because then you never have a chance to get that back. And then the other way around, they don't want to send me money without like
you need like
an
escrow, right?
Exactly. It's an escrow service in the center, right? And then that worked very smoothly, and got the money, and that's it. And then I was like wondering what's going to happen with this website, or who was the client actually, and ultimately turns out it's like League of Legends, right? And like and I'm wondering now, would they have changed the name of the series if I hadn't sold them this domain? Like, let's say they had like 3 or 4 different.
Well, it's based off a game.
Yeah, but Arcane, I watched the entire show. Like, Arcane is just like mentioned once or twice. It's like this like realm or whatever. I don't know. Like, they could have easily like now. I mean, that's just speculation. But let's say they had like 3 or 4 cool names for the show. I don't know if they had it from the beginning, right? But then they're like, okay, ultimately we got the domain under like some different name. Let's say, I don't know, whatever. And then they would have said, okay, let's call the show this because we don't have the domain of the other one, right? Or I don't know, but like ultimately it worked out for them. It worked out for me. Like everyone's happy. I'm not regretting selling it for that amount.
It's inspiring as fuck, dude. Like hearing your story. We've never had the chance to have this kind of chat because why would we, right? Why would we go, hey Oscar, what's
we're sitting at Okamura eating sushi.
Tell me like your life story, but in the context of you as an operator in the music space and listening about your progression. I mean, you've got to be pretty, pat on your own back kind of thing because of it's pretty obvious from my perspective. Each time you're leveling up, dude. And that's fucking inspiring for people like entrepreneurs such as myself. And just hearing you're a go-getter and you just do the work. So here we've got like electronic dance music, right? Is that right? And then we've got this licensing thing. When are we at 1001 Tracklist? Is that after this? After you sold the licensing? Or is that kind of...
That was during.
Okay, so there was a transition.
Yeah, basically what happened was that during the licensing, I was working with so many channels and they would all upload mixes. And I was just like, okay, how can I like streamline this process a bit more? And I obviously discovered 1001 Tracklists. It's like, oh, that's perfect. These guys are actually track listing everything.
Yeah, it's like literally a database online.
Yeah. I would like go there and check who's the label behind the track because I needed to like know so that I could contact them so I can get the licensing and stuff and make sure that we clear everything and
right,
stuff.
So you're already using these guys to help give you the info.
Yeah. So ultimately I contacted Jan, who at that time, like I basically had to find like there was like no contact form on this side, right?
Yeah.
So I contacted him and I met up with him at ADE. That was about maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And we met at like a party at like just like a casual, like get some drinks and snacks. And we just said like, let's just meet there. We met each other, and around the same time was also when Evan and Jacob, the other 2 main involved people in 1001 Tracklists, reached out to Jan as well, and they basically. So
it's this convergence of 3 people meeting Jan, and he's sitting here going, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, he basically was looking for like growing the team because he knew that there was like way more responsibilities now for the side. Because
were you guys into frisbee then? Was there a frisbee?
They were
already. The Americans.
The Americans.
The Americans.
The Americans. Yeah, they were. Jan basically allowed kind of like us to take over like the entire like communication side of things and moderation.
Clearly, he needed help with that because you couldn't even find how to. There was no contact us right at that point for 1001.
Yeah, man. Like we were running ads for spinning records for 2 years, and he didn't invoice them one time.
Oh wow!
Like there was like thousands of euros that basically Evan then started to invoice these labels for retroactively because Jan just never got around to invoice them for this money.
Yeah.
Crazy. And like. Then basically Evan started sorting through the inbox of Jan, and he has like emails by Hardwell, emails by like Avicii, like the biggest like teams in the world, all wanting to work with this website, or like having support requests, and Jan would just like ignore it and just like work on the database, right?
Such a coder.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And he's just like very introverted, and so we can, like Evan especially and Jacob, they came at the exact right time. I was still very much focused on Arcane. So they would take over like almost like operation in a sense, communication, and kind of like start growing the media business on top of the website, right? Obviously, 1001 Tracklist was running advertising, and that's kind of the business model behind it. But there's the ad networks that we use, for example, like Google Ads or Google Words. That they're basically just like seeding open like ad slots. But then we also do a lot of directly sold advertising. So we do bigger campaigns with like an artist for like a whole year, or we have like some promoted slots where we promote a track for like a week and stuff. So and that's more direct. That's working with labels, and obviously that requires way more communication. But also we make more money as of like just some random like banner ad from Google, right? Because it's a proper advertising specifically to electronic music, usually like an electronic label being behind it, and they're allocating a budget so that they can reach more people, right, and sell better or stream better. So that's there. And then of course also Jacob, Evan, and Fahim joined. He's a social media guy, and they started growing the social side of things. You know, we started doing the top 100 producers, which is a really big thing coming up now as well for us again. This
top 100 producers.
Yeah, the top 101.
101.
Yeah, because we're 1001, so it has to be.
I like
101.
it, man. I like it.
Yeah. So of course that is a very cool concept of us using the data that 1001 Tracklists accumulates and determining who was the best or who were like the most supported producers this year. So producing.
So it's artists, it's super legit because the track lists are legit.
Yep.
Because they're performances that are public, or at least in clubs and festivals and stuff. And then from that, you're aggregating whose music's been played the most.
Yeah. So
and this is the 101. And is it just across electronic music, or do you get into genres as well, like techno, house, tech house kind of thing for this 101 list?
For the top 101 producers, we only do it across every genre. Yeah. And of course, that can be a bit biased. Just simply, let's say...
if there's more,
if there's more recordings, for example, of like...
one genre.
Yeah. And that happened more at the beginning of the ranking, but also that was more of like the niche that we were serving. That was like right around like the EDM boom with Tomorrowland and stuff like this. So of course then this genre just had way more exposure, more live streams, more recordings, and therefore like it was bigger. But also these artists were like more interested in 1001 Tracklists. But now in like recent years, of course, it starts to flatten out a lot. Like there's so many good recordings now of like underground sets. Tech house is rising, techno is rising. Yeah. Obviously back then there was already like Boiler Room and outlets like this, but now you have Circle, you have like all these like great productions, and Show Media, who is doing sick recordings here.
Shout out to Show Media, Crate official media partner.
Yeah, and they just recorded some sick techno artists here in Bali, and
Apsara from Jakarta, I think they brought out. Yeah, so good festival this weekend.
Sick. And then what we're doing for the top 101 producers is just accumulating everything, and then that's the ranking.
Are you going to give them a prize, like a little?
We have awards, like literally sick. Physical awards for all 101, not just for like the top 3, which is really cool. And I think producers value it a lot. They always...
It's recognition, man.
100%.
And that's what, that's sometimes worth more than money because it's real, and that you look at when you're in the studio and you're having a bit of a tough day and you look up and you see something like that keeps you going, man.
Yeah, for sure. They put it in the studio. I mean, I have one for our production, which is really neat. Not that we influence it anyway, because we cannot. Like basically, it's just like literally enough DJs performing our tracks live, or like playing it. And we started doing another report at the end of the year. We call it the State of Dance Music. That is more recent. It's maybe been done for 3 years now, I think. And that goes deeper into genres, that goes deeper into labels, it goes deeper into festivals, and like lists all the statistics of the year, essentially, where people can dive in a little bit and start seeing what the state was.
Do you know, like, from my point of view, it looks like more labels are moving away from Beatport and getting more into Bandcamp for how they're operating, especially niche labels, like small independents. Is that trend sort of... Like, do you agree with that trend, or is it still pretty much Beatport? It's just
It's not for me to agree upon. I mean, there's certainly niches. There's TrackSource, which is traditionally more house music focused. Beatport is, of course, the biggest download store now still. iTunes is completely fading out. So there's only like a couple of ways where you can download your music. I know that Bandcamp doesn't charge extra, for example, to download WAV, right? So if audio quality is important to users, I definitely think like, why not? Like get it on there. I am ultimately a believer in like just seed your music everywhere. Have it up on Beatport. I mean, there's no like hard feelings there. Some users just like Beatport more, or they have their credit card information.
Well, it's
in
what
there,
we all
right?
know. It's
exactly
what we've been using for.
Yeah, but
whole
so if your
time.
distributor offers all of them, use all of them, right? I mean, whatever is the preference. It's the preference more of the user, right? It's the user's preference to use Spotify, or Apple Music, or Deezer, or Tidal, or whatever is out there, right? So.
Yeah, it's a lot of work though to be everywhere. I guess if it's a distribution, then no, but then the promotion.
Yeah.
You know? So it's getting a lot easier now with buy links that are multi-platform, so people can pick their platform that they use to consume to buy your track.
Yep.
You know, so it's super digital's like ultimate efficiency right now. In terms of the buying process. It doesn't get much easier to get the track if it's up.
True, that's true. And I think like these tools they developed like independently, and now basically every distributor is almost like adapting them. Like the same thing with saves and pre-saves, like running pre-save campaigns, and then these pre-save campaigns.
Is this Spotify pre-saves or just pre-saves in general for pre-release?
I think you can do pre-order on Beatport, right?
Yeah,
you can do pre-save on Apple Music, but it's not actually Apple Music running it. It's usually a third party that like basically integrates with the API and then just works it out. But a lot of like distributors now, it's almost like that. It's a very competitive space to distribute music. There's a lot of distributors out there, so it's almost like if one offers it to artists and they have all these cool tools with like, let's say, pre-save campaign links that then turn into out now links with all of like the stuff. If they are doing it, you almost are forced to do it as well, because like obviously, and that's how actually the technology evolves, right? And that's a cool thing, because then that means everyone has a better experience. The users have a better experience. For you as like a label, it's easier to manage because the distributor is taking care of it. So I think it's we're in a cool age right now where, I mean, we can talk a little bit more later about like everything that's happening like with NFTs and like kind of like it being more rare in a sense, but
digital scarcity.
Exactly, which is kind of interesting as well, and that's definitely a new concept that's just emerging. So we'll have to see who's coming out on top there, because I don't think that there's like a big like one-stop shop for this yet.
No, I don't think there ever will be. I don't think that. I mean, the logical thing for NFTs and a one-stop shop is Beatport, because they've got the biggest selection of artists, or the biggest distributors being one-stop shops. But fundamentally, if, you know, the paradigm's shifting, right? Digital is about to be hit over the head. I mean, it's happening now. The digital space is going to be smacked over the head with NFTs. We're going to have an explosion of user adoption with NFTs, because of the fact that artists will be able to have digital scarcity, which is going to fundamentally increase the value of their music,
right?
Which changes the landscape, because this concept in digital where you need to be everywhere, you can flip that upside down and follow vinyl culture. If you really want to buy my song, buy the record.
Exactly.
And that's such a strong concept. That's such an empowering statement for an artist to have the balls to have that, rather than coming from fear of missing out. Like there's a real FOMO that's been pushed, a narrative of FOMO that's pushed to digital, like, oh, you need to be everywhere because you could miss that sale that blows up your track. Right. That's kind of the story we're told, right? That's kind of like, that's just like, you could probably argue that, and please do if you can. But you know, the idea in digital is you want to maximize every sales opportunity, so you need to be everywhere, right? Yeah. Because that next sale could be the sale that blows the track open, because an artist, you know, a big artist plays it, even though most big artists are on all promo lists anyway, so they're kind of getting a jump on the track. But a lot of artists don't check that, and even if the artists pay people to check on their behalf, even then sometimes it can slip through the cracks.
True.
But so the digital kind of, you know, and because there's such little money in digital, you do need to try to be everywhere. Yeah. And then the vinyl guys are like, you know what? Fuck that. I just want to make music, and I'm going to, you know, be lucky enough to either negotiate and get my, you know, the harder thing is it's harder to get a vinyl deal. Yeah. Because there's a bigger risk in a label going,
post-production.
We're going to, you know, do a test press of that, or we're going to press that. So, and that's going to change too.
Yeah.
Okay.
With NFTs.
With NFTs and what we're doing at Crate, where we're going to, sort of be a big mover in helping artists get to vinyl, and reduce those barriers and reduce those costs. So
it's really sick. I think you're absolutely right with this. I would just say that like the issue is maybe the size of the artist and their following. For bigger artists, that's easier to do and easier to accomplish than for smaller artists. For smaller artists, you almost need to see it everywhere to first like have that.
Yeah, I think why that is, because big artists already have the following. But in underground music, we're not looking for big artists. We're looking for music that other DJs don't know, because we get cred playing music that no one's ever heard. That's a good song. Right. When it's not so underground, absolutely, you're 100% right. You need to be sort of, and the big artists are already doing pretty well out of the current business model. But where we're focused on primarily is the middle class, because if you have a healthy middle class of artists and producers such as myself and you guys, I mean, I'm getting deja vu for some reason, but, just quickly talking about your artists, your duo, Don't Blink, you guys are so like, you're about to go massive in terms of, I mean, we can talk about that in that's a whole other podcast, right?
That's a whole
literally.
other podcast.
So, but coming back to middle class producers, these guys are guys that write music. They know how to write music. They produce it. They play in clubs, and the biggest guys are playing their music. It's exactly what 1001Tracklists is.
Yeah.
It's looking for these types of producers. That's where Crate and where I'm passionate about. I want to help those people. So we're fully aligned with who we're trying to help and for what those reasons are. These are the guys that put in the time. They don't care about the money.
Yeah.
If we cared about money as artists, no one would be making music.
Yeah,
right? Seriously.
It's really hard.
It's fucking impossible, right? Like, it's like 1%. I've got some stats from the IMS report that are on our Crate website. I don't even want to talk about it because it's that depressing, but check it out on cratemusic.io. You can get the report there, or you can get it directly from the IMS site. And,
you sent me this, right?
I sent you that.
Dude.
Like, we'll talk about that in the other. That's a whole thing, man.
There's going to be another podcast.
There's going to be another podcast with. So don't freak out if you see Oskar twice. They're completely different shows, and we unpack completely different topics. And back to unpacking 1001Tracklists. Let's move to Songstats quickly. Let's talk about ADE for 1001 and for Songstats. But just quickly, I want to expand a little bit on this other thing that you guys are getting into. So you've got 101, the 101 list. There's this other thing that you said the boys are getting into that's a little bit more genre. That sounds cool. It's like a new concept that's brewing.
That's already done for 3 years now.
Yeah, that's pretty new.
Yeah,
for you
fairly
guys.
new for us.
What's it called?
It's called the State of Dance Music.
The State of Dance Music. Tell me more about the State of Dance Music.
So
cool name.
It's basically a report that we're putting out at the end of each year. So for example, I think it's called A State of Dance.
A State of Dance.
A State of Dance Music.
Yeah.
So basically, what we're doing is
where's the report available on the 1000?
On the site. Yeah,
okay.
you can find it, download it. Usually it's pretty big towards like the beginning of the year because that's when it comes out. We do sharing artworks as well for all of the artists that are like in some of the top genres or for the labels and stuff. And it's just, again, digesting all of the data that we collected over the course of the year of like which ones were the biggest genres, which ones were the biggest tracks, the most supports.
And it's like what comes out in around January?
Yeah, it's usually January.
Just before WMC, right?
WMC is usually in March. So I think, usually it's like third week of January. We need some time after January to wrap up everything. Like it takes some time to make it look good. We have a website for it as well and stuff. So
it's a separate website, is it?
It's like I think you just go to 1001Tracklists.com/state of dance or something. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, check it out. It's very interesting to see kind of the development and also which artists are on the rise, which genres are on the rise. It's very interesting to kind of like see, especially the progression over time. So I think now we've only done it for 2 or 3 years now. So I guess as we continue doing it, we can also draw some more comparison to like the years before. We haven't really done that.
You're starting
yet.
to see trend and big, more data points.
Yeah, and it's again like an accomplishment of like artists in specific genres or labels or even like like media companies. We even like I think last year like we write which for example I think Circle was very in the very top of like the media companies that are like producing like the track lists that have the most views.
Amazing story too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
just randomly hitting up the Eiffel Tower.
Freaking amazing.
Can we? Was it Nina Kravitz? I think the first one, and then they said yes,
So cool.
and then they're like, let's just keep going with this.
the concept is amazing. The
Yeah.
sets are incredible, both from a visual
What's your
perspective.
favorite Circle set? Personally?
I'm biased.
Yeah.
I love Boris Brecher,
Okay.
the German techno guy. Freaking amazing.
That's
I think he
awesome.
played the third time already. All of them were insane.
What's your favorite Boris Brecher Circle set? Then out of which location / set? Because there's two things, right? There's what he's playing.
Yeah,
versus location.
the music in the last one was freaking insane.
Yeah?
Like that's the stuff that he's touring on right now. I think, and I hope to see him at ADE. I know he's.
Here's a
playing.
great story too, because he's I don't know the guy, but from what I hear, he's an absolute workhorse and things that
Yeah.
he's just been head down, working hard, and it's really starting to happen for him.
He is the most like productive producer, I think, and is a big inspiration to us. And it's just insane that he was able to accomplish this with just his own stuff. And now he has an incredible team and obviously a huge fan base, very dedicated.
Shout out to Boris Brecher.
Yeah, I love
Keep
him.
going, brother.
Yeah,
We love you.
Yeah, yeah. Big inspiration. But so he. Or just backtracking with Circle and with these sets, they are basically becoming almost like a big source of like music discovery now as well, right? So
And a platform to
yeah.
r-
Boiler
launch.
Room was one early, and of course, in a way, Tomorrowland and these festivals are, but Circle now is also one, and there's more like these. Especially if they continuously record sets and stuff, for us it's very important to have like some sort of like audio recording or even better video recording, right, that we can link to. And 1001 doesn't host anything ourselves. We're just basically a big linking side, right? Like we just tell you, hey, this track was played, go listen to it here.
SoundCloud,
or like,
Beatport.
Exactly. And so yeah, the State of Dance Music Report that's coming out again this year. So that's really cool. Also in combination with Top 101 Producers, what we started doing last year and we're going to do it again this year, is the future of artists. I
like
think,
that.
I think, is that what it's called? I need to double check
Yeah.
that that's actually what we call it. But basically what we're doing is
Is this 1001 Tracklist or is Songstats?
That's all 1001.
Okay, yeah.
So essentially, we understand that like the top 101 producers is, and in general, it's a bit of a thing in like our industry. It's just like very male, very like white male driven. It's just like, and there's nothing we can change about it. It's just like these are the folks like producing the tracks that are getting played the most. Like we can't really change that fact, right? So
Well, you could by starting to spend more energy in helping
and we are
targeting other communities that so you can start getting a better spread.
100%.
Yeah.
We're doing what we can on our end to try it, but ultimately it's up to DJs to see who they support, what music they're playing. So what we start actually doing is then in combination with announcing the top 100 producers, we're also like selecting actually a lot of like artists that are on the rise that are maybe from like more minority groups. So like last year we had a bunch of like from different countries, different cultures, LGBTQ community, everything a little bit, and these were all like really great artists that then, especially Jacob, who's running this initiative, has been like promoting over the entire course of the year.
It's really good that you're consciously aware of that.
Yeah, because
and you're doing that because this music community transcends.
Yeah, everywhere, and it stems
all
from
of that.
these
It comes
cultures.
from it's we're all here for the music.
Yeah.
Period.
And it's great stuff. And like we're doing exclusive mixes with them where they can showcase their style, and it's often so unique and so cool to see, and it's really, we hope to open like obviously. As
so what's this is?
Artistic.
Sorry, I wrote it. I'm taking notes here. Future of artists.
Yeah.
What potentially?
What do you mean?
So you weren't 100% sure if it's called the future of artists.
Wait
But
1
it's
second.
Something like that. Something like that.
It's the future of dance. That's what we call it. The future of dance. Not the future of artists. That was actually, I got confused there because that was actually something Tomorrowland was doing. They were calling it the future for artists, and they were basically announcing 4 artists each month that they would like also present. So I got a bit confused about like
The reason I'm asking these kind of questions too, because, Crate is completely aligned with some of your values and what you're doing. And, we're all about working together. I'm already thinking about offering you guys, when we do our charts, it's the track source chart. You know what I mean? And
1001 Tracklists.
1001 track. Did I go through the whole podcast without? Is that the first time I've said it?
That's the first time you confused them too.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, sorry, man. Yeah, 1001 Tracklist. So it'd be like powered by 1001 for the charts, and then the Songstats thing. Which let's start letting folks know what that's about. I think we've covered most of the 1001 track. The 1001 Tracklist story. You guys are going to be at ADE, of course. Big thing.
Yeah, it's a big thing. We always announce the top 101 producers at ADE or the week leading into ADE. And we do our own event this year as well again. And then we have a boat for two days as well. So definitely going to be a lot of artists around. It's a hype week. We're all really excited. And so, yeah, it's going to be pretty big.
Awesome. Can people still go to your event?
Yeah,
on the boat. Is it the boat that you're doing this time around, or you got some club shows for the 1001 Tracklist party?
We're doing the party for announcing the top 101 producers.
So it'll be the announcement followed by the event, or how
no, it's a celebration. We're announcing usually on Monday.
Yep.
And then the event, I don't know if it's announced yet, but I think it will be Wednesday. Will be like the celebration of it. And then I think we have a boat Thursday and Friday where we'll also invite artists, and then of course anyone can come. And I don't know if there's like tickets on sale, or if it's like if we do guest lists again and stuff. I would need to coordinate with Jacob. It's still like finalizing right now everything. But it's really cool. And of course we're also we haven't even looked at the rankings yet. Actually, we're usually waiting until like we obviously need to have more data. So we're waiting until like. It's usually the 1st of October, 1st of September, I think, until like the next of September. No, October, sorry.
Yeah.
1st of October until the next year of October. And it's like that running
that calendar.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's something that, apart from expanding your Frisbee team, right? How does someone get in touch with you guys that wants to join this cause, man, that wants to be a part of 1001 and wants to contribute, how would you tell them the best way to approach you guys? Who do they contact?
It always depends for what purpose. Anyone can.
If they want to join your team, be more active than just submitting playlists. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that probably want to or contribute or add value or have ideas.
I mean, so first up, we have like an incredible like core group of super users, and these kids are insane.
Yeah,
like they are like.
How many super users do you guys have?
I'd say we're maybe like the core, maybe like 25 to 30 that are like really, really active.
Onto it, yeah.
And I've seen them, like we were like at Ultra in Japan, and like we met some of other users there.
When was that?
It was like 3 years ago or something.
I played there.
Resistance
in Tokyo.
No way, you were playing there?
Was that the one with who was the main stage headliner? The last one that happened before the pandemic, right?
I think so. It was.
Yeah. You were there?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh man, I was there.
It was freaking crazy.
Yeah,
yeah. It was really awesome. And we're meeting up with the members or the users of the site, and they were literally like in the festival on their phone. Live track
real time
live track listing. I was like, wow.
Were they Japanese?
Yeah, they were Japanese. Yeah, like a couple, and they love the site. They love the culture. They love everything about it. So
Amazing.
It's so fun. So we're like inviting them for a drink and everything. And it's really cool to see. And with some of the users as well, especially at ADE, we're doing meetups, and then like we're getting like a dinner together or something. And it's really cool with those. Like that's just out of deep passion of electronic music, right? Like these people, and we try to give them some exposure sometimes. Like we do a newsletter and introduce some of them, and if we can organize like tickets for shows or like a guest list for shows. Sometimes we do. So we just reach, because we have a lot of like private contacts with teams, and then So, for example, I think Robert, he's one of our my main track listers. His name on the site is Zinderlong. Shout out to Robert, he's awesome.
You.
Yeah, and he basically loves Martin Garrix. I think he's his favorite artist. And then I think Jacob before like organized tickets for him or like guest list for him, so you can go to these shows and stuff.
That's cool, man.
A cool thing. And but there's not really like any monetary like involvement in that and contributing.
It's all
to the
goodwill.
site. Exactly.
What happens if someone, has an entrepreneurial mindset, just like yourself, just like me, and all these other people that are trying to create communities and platforms, and they want to get in touch with you?
Yeah.
Do they get in touch with you? Do they just info at once? Like, how do people?
That's how it was before when I got in touch with Jan. Now you can definitely find me or my email address on like LinkedIn or just email me, and then
go from there.
And then go from there. If it's something that's interesting, let's jump on a call, talk about it, see if there's like synergy, and then we take it from there. It's always. There was actually one kid, Ali, who's now not a kid anymore. He basically built something on top of like 1001 Tracklist data. He basically made it so you can export a track list into a Spotify playlist. He just basically created like an export tool, and he reached out because of it. I think on Reddit or something.
Wicked.
And then he was then because he's like quite handy with like coding. We basically like hired him as like a software engineer for Songstats.
Yeah.
He was working with us.
Is this what led to the?
Not Ali's doing, but he basically worked for us for like half a year or a year, and then he started working at Twitter. Wow. So now he's a software engineer at Twitter / he actually just changed his stripe. So he's in San Francisco and
Silicon Valley, cutting his shapes.
Obviously, he has a really great like attitude and works really hard. So obviously, like maybe like our company at that stage wasn't quite holding it for him. So Twitter is sick, like working for these companies. But
hopefully, he can help find out how many users they really have.
How many bots?
How many bots?
He's not working for them anymore now, which might be better.
Yeah, it's probably why he left. It's like, damn it, this is all just smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, damn.
Man, so, okay. I think we're going to wrap it up with talking about we're going to wrap up 1001. I want to get some airtime to Songstats, something that before I even met you, I came across and actually bought and be paid. I think this was pre-pandemic. I think I was paying about $5 a month. I don't know if that sounds right.
10, yeah.
Was it 10? Something like that.
We never changed it, yeah.
I remember I was definitely paying, and that was when I was full hustle mode artist, constant releases, some of the biggest DJs in the world playing my music. I'm like, this is really, really cool because, who's playing it this weekend, Purple Disco Machine or Madonna, Black Madonna or, whatever. I love that too. I love this kind of Craigslist retro vibe of 1001, and I also love this kind of look that you guys are going with Songstats. Please, hold on to that 1001 look for as long as you can, because people like me who used Beatport Original for forever, it's just because it, flashy stuff can take away from the experience because we just want to get to business, right? Songstats is really interesting because it feels like it's the new kid on the block for 1001. That's a little bit more of a modern, but also like I'm paying, right? So there's a different kind of expectation with that, and as a result, you guys are offering a much more robust, detailed. I mean, it's pretty full on. Do you want to give people a bit of a rundown on Songstats and how that came about? And firstly, tell folks what is Songstats? Yeah.
Let's do one more point about the design for 1001. It is very retro. We did iterate it over time. We do understand that people love it. Like this retro feeling of it is kind of cool. We have a new design that's kind of done. It's not been implemented, and it's probably going to take a while. Since all this time, 1001 Tracklist has only been developed, actually, the actual backbone of it by still just Jan over these over this decade essentially of work. There's no other developer there, and there's a lot of maintenance involved in that too. So progress, especially on front end, which is not his forte, is quite like slow. But that's good in a way. Like we're doing iterations and we're improving upon it. But it's not like Songstats where we can like with multiple developers like blast ahead and like really like build a robust experience. So, bit of background on Songstats. What we wanted to do was to create 1001 Tracklists for artists, essentially. 1001 Tracklists has really interesting data for artists and also for record labels to understand which music is working. If you promo a song, you find out on 1001 Tracklists if that song had actually performed or played.
Yeah,
right?
who's actually playing it, not who's supporting.
Exactly.
Who's actually playing
Who's actually playing
at
it.
the gigs that matter.
And not just like leaving a comment like download for Richie Houghton or something like this. You know, like so
cool, we'll play.
Cool, we'll play.
Thanks.
Love it. Yeah. So we are basically the source of truth in that sense. So what we wanted to do is just create a little dashboard where you as an artist can log in and kind of like in the backbone see like, okay, like this support just came in, like this guy just performed it on Tomorrowland or something, because that is really important for you to know, because you can share that on your own socials, or you can maybe find a recording, like let's say a YouTube snippet of it, of him performing your track or someone performing your track
for your content.
Exactly, it's content, it's free content.
You know what you're looking for. Oh, Purple Disco Machine at this gig.
Yeah,
that's when he played it.
Yeah,
I'll try and find someone's got footage of it.
Or you even find a YouTube link on 1001 Tracklists. You just click on it, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to do that, and then we found out like just 1001 Tracklist data is a little bit scarce, especially for like smaller artists. Like, of course, if your name is Tiesto and you get supported every day by like multiple DJs, it's kind of cool to check in. But also at that size, it might not be as important to you anymore seeing each of these smaller supports. But for the smaller artists or like up and coming artists, they want to see everything, of course, and they also but they don't not just want to get like one notification every week or something, you know, of someone playing their stuff. So we were like, okay, how can we improve upon that? Let's also integrate a couple other platforms. Let's definitely do Spotify. Let's definitely do Beatport. So the original platform was actually called 1001 Trackstats. So it was like the branch of 1001 Tracklists was 1001 Trackstats. It was built on the 1001 Tracklist database. So the database for 1001 Tracklists is really well maintained, and it's all like manually confirmed. So what we are doing is we're like making sure that there's no duplicates or anything in the database, so that like everything is connected properly.
Yep.
So it was good to build it on that originally. But the problem was that then it's very niche to electronic music, of course, right? So we started doing that and worked really well. So 1001 Trackstats, we incorporated Beatport, we incorporated Spotify and
Tracksource.
We actually did.
For the now you have the right one.
Now you got the right one. Love it.
There's YouTube on there as well.
It wasn't originally.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
It was
start.
It was
three.
these four.
Yeah. Four,
including 1001 Tracklists.
Okay. Four. Yeah.
So now from there we kind of like iterated the idea behind Songstats, and that's the cool part of it. We have basically three main pages from the get-go. Like one is the activity feed, and that's like probably the bread and butter of everything, because essentially anything that happens to your music, being it a playlist support, being it charting somewhere, being it being supported somewhere, now we also do socials, like someone using your music in like, let's say an Instagram reel, you will get notified right away on your feed. So the feed just like comes in and it will tell you like, hey, this playlist with like 20,000 followers just playlisted your track, and then you can like look at the playlist, you can share it, and of course we have a mobile app so you can receive push notifications for it as well. So this is like the main concept for the feed, is that you always stay up to date, you never miss any important thing, and you can customize the feed as well. So let's say a bigger artist, he doesn't want to get spammed by like smaller playlists. A smaller artist really wants to see everything and not just like the bigger accomplishments, right? So you can customize it in your ways, and that's really handy. And then we do analytics, so you can kind of like see development of performance over time. So let's say, and that's both on the artist level or label level as well as the track level.
You know, for Crate, straight up, we would probably want to pitch you guys like, you know, when people are applying for Crate, we need to verify that they are an established artist in the sense that they've released on labels, right? We could do something where, you know, someone internally in our team, when they're assessing applications of people wanting to join Crate and be like a music uploader, you know, have their own artist profile where they can mint NFTs, we could do something like verified by Songstats.
Sure. It's usually good that in order for us to have their profile, they usually need a release at least like on Spotify or somewhere.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Then you can also, the good thing about Songstats is you can see cohesion, right? Because you can see simultaneously where they're at on their footprint on Spotify versus Beatport. Are they track source heavy? And you can also corroborate that as well. You're like, oh, this guy is legit, 6 labels on Beatport, 4 on track source. Just because, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. 1001 Tracklists are getting picked up, played by some other DJs. So they're a legitimate person.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, Songstats in a way is almost like a little bit of a resume of an artist as well. Or it can
fully,
be.
Yeah. And a snapshot of where they're at.
Yeah, that's there too. I mean, we allow anyone to look up any artist. So you can like search for an artist and get their overall analytics essentially for anyone. So you can like look up how, I don't know, Maceo Plex is doing right now.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Producer.
Exactly.
He's one of my favorites.
He's really good.
Yeah.
So then you can look him up, check how he's doing, how his latest release is doing, maybe the overall stats. Now, if you want to get like deeper insights into like each of like the individual like playlists that he got picked up on, if you want to receive the push notifications and see all of your activity feed items and stuff.
So it's also good for a digging tool if you want to follow an artist and see what they're playing, or is it more if you're Maceo Plex, you want the app?
Yeah, I was saying basically if you want all this, you would have to subscribe. So so essentially you can use it as like a basic A&R tool, like for free essentially, and just like look up your favorite artists and see how they're performing. But then it's really tailored. The entire experience is tailored to an individual artist or an individual label. / also a management that manages multiple artists or labels, or like a distributor or like a booking agent or whatever.
Are you guys going to start aggregating Bandcamp data as well at some point?
Good question. We do get the request every once in a while, and it's definitely on our list. We don't know when to prioritize it. I mean, we have a lot of like stuff in the backlog. Right now, we have 14 integrated data sources, and that includes the ones that we mentioned previously. We did other streaming services now like Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon, Deezer. We started doing all of the social ones, so that includes YouTube. That and not just TikTok. Instagram, TikTok. So that includes YouTube Shorts, for example, which is like the new like vertical short form content, and the same thing with Instagram Reels, and TikTok videos, of course, are traditionally in that format. So that's really cool because you can see not just when like DJs are picking you up or players are picking you up, but also when other creators are literally using your music, and that's again free content. So if you like, let's say someone like starts a challenge, or what I found out, it's our artist project is called Don't Blink. And I found out through Songstats that like we have a track called Insane, that there's like there was like a challenge on TikTok about this track where like people are staring into the camera trying not to blink. So they're writing Insane by Don't Blink, and then they're like staring into the camera. Hilarious.
And that's just someone's decided to do that and kick it off.
Yeah, and then some people started doing it, and more people started doing
Insane Don't Blink challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, dude. You can't make that shit up.
No,
you can't plan that shit.
No, and it's not like we started it, right? Yeah. It's like someone probably like tried to not blink and then searched like not blinking.
And did that give you a massive spike in the track?
It's certainly our best performing track on TikTok. I mean, it has over 1 million streams on Spotify. So
maybe we should write a song called like, I don't know, what's something that we want people to do fun at, like.
See, now you're thinking in terms of
such a foreign way for me to think about music, but it's just sometimes fun to indulge and think about it.
Yeah, but the thing is that like I would never have known that because how would I know that? I mean, I would not look up this track.
For that.
No, exactly. And then I find out this way, and then I can see in Songstats immediately all of the videos that were posted, which ones have the most views. I can I can view them, and I can also share them. So then I can give these people a shout out. Be like, yo, join the challenge or whatever, and like suddenly you start growing something, right?
You can grow a movement.
Yeah, and the most important thing for us is exactly this aspect that we kind of like call it like closing the feedback loop. So for us, it starts like, okay, you have a release, right? The release comes out, it's being distributed. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 is, okay, now it's getting picked up by someone, by like a creator, by a playlist. It enters the chart, something happens to it, right? That's a second like step in like the cycle of that release. Now, the third thing is that you should know that that happened actually. And that's already where it's failing for a lot, because maybe, and that's like a lot of people are really good at following the platforms that they engage with and that they're successful on. So for example, if I'm doing well on Beatport, I'm spending a lot of time looking at the Beatport charts. And these are like kind of like my source of truth. And these are also my endorphin machine. Because like if I enter the charts...
Endorphin machine.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I go higher there, it's like, okay, cool, you know. Yeah. But you completely neglect that you might have like equally good success maybe right now on like Amazon or something, and you don't even like know that that's happening potentially. Or you're just like spending a lot of time on that one platform and you always look at it and you neglect the others. So obviously Songstats alleviates that by giving you insights across all these sources, right, in one place.
I'm listening, I'm taking notes.
Yeah. So it's a good thing that that's happening, because that means that you're not just like paying attention to the one place where you're already like engaged, but you can also then see success in the others, which I think is important. It's again the conversation about like kind of like spreading out everywhere and just like having your music available everywhere and paying close attention to everything. So now that you know about it, that's cool. That gives you awareness. A little bit of awareness.
And action, what do they say in like spy communities? Actionable intelligence.
Actionable insights. Exactly. It's so true. So this is right now an insight, but now you take action. So that's the fourth part of it. And that's kind of how we close that loop, right? What we want to do now is like not just have you be aware of it, but take action. So we actually like have these tools where you can share things then automatically to Instagram stories. So we generate these like cool looking artworks where you can like give the creator, for example, a shout out, tag them, or even just like, even if it's a playlist editor. And this goes a really long way, because if you now acknowledge that support, that creator will see it, or that playlister will see it,
and it's fuel to the fire,
and they will keep supporting you in the future. So again, the cycle starts from the beginning. And so in the end, we not just want to be a reporting tool that retroactively tells you, oh, this is how the track did, but that's the reason why we have the feed. That's the reason why we send you push notifications, is so that like the moment it happens, you can immediately share it. You can be notified and kind of like grow the success while it's happening, right? So. Yeah, that's kind of the premise of Songstats in a nutshell. And then of course there's a lot that we can dive into with like audience insights, with
when I caught up with you a while back, I think you were celebrating like your 5,000th user. Is that right? Does that sound right?
Might have been, yeah. The 5,000 active subscribers.
Active subscriber that are paying. How many non-active versus active are you guys sitting at the moment? Like, are you guys seeing growth all the time?
We definitely see growth, and it's weird how like it's not exponential. It's just like it's like super solid, like super predictable, like linear growth.
Yeah.
And it like doesn't matter really like what we do, or like we're obviously adding like features, we're adding sources, we're doing all this stuff. It's just like a really super linear growth in terms of subscribers. And of course, actually that means though ultimately that our rate of subscriptions is growing, because also the more subscribers you have, the more churn you have. That just means like people that might not have a release for 3 months, they might unsubscribe for like 3 months.
Yeah, because especially during the pandemic.
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense for you to stay subscribed until you have your new release, and then you subscribe again, right? But of course, if we have a steady growth, that means like the percentage of churn is kind of the same. So that means just because we have a higher base of subscribers, like the total number of churn is higher.
Question.
So,
So the way the industry kind of works at the moment with releases is there's kind of a like campaign a label will prepare, right? Where it's like, we're going to push this record for 4 to 6 weeks on the socials and everything. Yeah. And that artist is kind of in a situation where they can't really push another release because they want to maximize the sales opportunity of that one release to capture people's attention. Yeah. And then you've obviously got the promo before that that's going out to the artist that becomes the hype tool.
Yeah.
If, at Crate, we're going to challenge this. We're going to challenge this, and I'll tell you why. With what we're doing at Crate, that to me is a significant bottleneck in the way things are done. And I understand why it's been done, because it's to maximize the investment in the campaign. Yeah. And the penetration of that kind of that message. Oh, this song. But what about producers? that works great for people that go, right, I'm going to release 1 track a month or every sort of, or an EP or whatever.
Mm.
But so many producers, like even you guys in your duo Don't Blink, so many producers can write a lot of music and are sitting on lots of music. And this is why we're starting to see Bandcamp get some serious traction. People I'm speaking to, people that are digital diggers, are moving more to Bandcamp because there's more stuff there that is no longer on Beatport, because Beatport has everything.
Yeah.
Massive, and there's very like rare occasions where Traxsource has something that Beatport doesn't. It used to, but now it's like Beatport's just so big you have to be there, as a storefront for a download. And imagine, and this plays into, my prediction is that producers will there'll be another way that things happen, and it will be tailored for producers at creator machines that are constantly putting out records. And then something like Songstats becomes super appealing to them because they're no longer like going to churn, they're no longer going to unsubscribe. If anything, I believe that music should be doing as much of the talking as possible.
Yeah.
And with Crate, it's more about DJs deciding what we're empowering DJs to decide if that track's good or not. Exactly like 1001 Tracklists is kind of like the end result of the DJs doing the dig, So Crate's relying more on artists connecting with DJs and DJs buying and selling the music from the artist and discovering that artist. And they're spending the DJ spending 3 hours looking for that artist and then building a relationship with it and then buying their music further on and maybe being rewarded by being given free music from the artist or music prior to when they're officially going to put it on their storefront, right?
Yeah.
But Songstats, I think, is going to explode when we start seeing more producers having a model where they can just keep putting music out, right? Because for me, if I'm just putting out 5 tracks a week or 1 track a week or whatever, and I can check Songstats and I can see, oh, this track's now doing something here. Oh, boom. So there's always this kind of activity. So my social media habits become check in on Songstats, see which song's getting a bit of traction this week, bit of share, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than this, thing. And that's going to change the game a bit because you're going to see more music coming out and it's going to compete with that kind of the other people that are doing this kind of 4 to 5, 6 week campaign stuff, because labels have to do it like that. They can't like just go, bah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Doesn't work like that.
I mean, the entry barrier for releasing music is already, there's way more content now. There is way more releases already. And it's only going to keep growing. And it's easier for artists than ever to release their music already, right? And that's really cool. One interesting thing is that Songstats really started blowing up during the pandemic, actually. And I think one reason was
more
that
digging.
Yeah, exactly. People are at home. They're just like looking at their phone, and also artists didn't tour. So releasing music became more important again. And then you want to see how that music is doing. And also you don't have this if you perform, you immediately have like really great feedback from the crowd. You connect memories with that track that you just played, that is your own production. That's like the ultimate feeling. The ultimate feeling.
Yeah, emotional anchor.
That was definitely taken away for the past 2 years, which was really tough on a lot of artists. But then tools like Songstats helped in a little way, to at least show that there are people that care. There are fans, your listeners are growing and your streams are going in the right direction. So, I think it's right that artists that only release, let's say, 1 track every couple of months, for them it might not be as effective to keep their subscription alive over the course of the entire year.
But I'm saying, I'm basically saying to you that Songstats has a very exciting future.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Because of this is going to be a new trend that's going to happen. Yeah. It's happening.
We're already seeing it.
We're already seeing it.
Yeah.
And there's this word that's going around in circles called the creator boom. And the reason for that is, like you said, that it's the onboard, like the barriers to releasing creative works is pretty much gone.
Anyone can.
There's no gatekeepers deciding if your work's worthy of releasing. You can just do it yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting on people to decide if they're gonna, if it's any good. And Songstats is a super great idea. I absolutely love it. With Songstats, is it a one size fits all in terms of subscription? In other words, if a label pays the $10 versus an individual, do they get the same access?
Yeah, so we have an artist plan that's 10 euros per month, and that gives you access to your own artist profile essentially. And then we do a record label plan that's 15 euros a month. It's just slightly a bit more.
Does that allow you to save artists that you've signed, or how does that work?
It's basically your actual label profile. So let's say if you have a label profile on Beatport or whatever, you can manage that through that. And there's usually the price increases just because it's a little bit more difficult to aggregate labels, and usually they have a bigger catalog than individual artists. So the tools are the same across both. We also have a professional plan that's currently 75 euros per month. Well, it has always been, but we're kind of like thinking about potentially increasing pricing. We're not so sure yet. We'll have to see.
It's 75 euros per month?
Yes. But that allows you...
What's that? What do you get for that?
You can connect up to 15 artists. Yep. So basically, if you have more than 7 artists, you kind of want to go for the professional plan. And that's basically for bigger management. That's
content.
Anyone that like has a bigger roster of artists that they manage.
Agencies and stuff.
Yes. And they use the professional plan. We also recently, or about a year ago, started doing our own enterprise API. So what that is that we sell parts of the data that we aggregate to other companies. So it's like a B2B, not like a directly to artists, but like to other companies that want to use that data in their platform. Sometimes they're reselling it to their customers. Sometimes they're just using it to display it in their own dashboards or for their own reporting tools and stuff. That's been really cool. So we basically have like a little bit of like two arms of the business now. Essentially, one is like the enterprise offering like data to other businesses so they can use it.
Yep.
And then of course the Songstats like our own desktop dashboard and our own app.
So sorry, say that again for the enterprise solution. Who's the best kind of user for that?
So it would be like a company. Let's say you are a distributor, and
enterprise is different to pro. Right?
Yes. Pro. Okay. So artist, labels, and pro. That's all within our own ecosystem.
Yeah, distributor, I get it. Okay.
Yeah. So that would mean that you're using Songstats on our side. You're using the mobile app. We also just recently, like literally last week, released a desktop app for Mac, for Windows, and for Linux. So you can just download Songstats now and have it like outside of just your browser, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
And you can receive push notifications right in your laptop then as well.
So
which
Crate
is really cool.
Would potentially be enterprise.
Crate would probably be enterprise, or what we call that as well, which is like outside of our like direct enterprise, is like a custom data solution. We do that for some people and we already, for example, you were talking about charts. We are actually calculating charts. Like for I think that's a public one that we do is for in Europe they have a really big radio station called Energy FM. I think it's from Belgium if I'm not mistaken, but they have like subsidiaries in all the different. No, it's from France, and they have subsidiaries in a lot of like different countries.
Yeah, regional.
Yeah, and so for Energy Germany. We are actually like kind of like compiling their dance charts every week.
So they can pay their royalties.
Not just for them to pay their royalties, but like basically that's like their top 40 or whatever dance charts.
They're going to play.
And they're going to play it. It's like Saturday night, like the prime slot where they like do their top 40 dance. And we're the ones compiling it based on the data that we see. And we adjust.
Yeah, because it's a pretty good reflection of what's actually people are playing.
They designed the algorithm for it together with us. Yeah. So we were saying, okay, what data sources do we want to take in consideration? Spotify is definitely there. They wanted it to be a bit more electronic. So 1001Tracklists is being weighted. So we weighted all of them. And then ultimately now, like once a week, we're compiling it, sending it to them. And then they are basically based on that, are releasing the top 40 in Germany, essentially, which is kind of cool.
Wow.
And so that would be kind of like a way that we can do like crate charts essentially, where we can like figure out what is it that the chart should be focused on. What are the weights that are more important? I think again it's more electronic in this case, because obviously if you weight Spotify really high, then you have the Justin Biebers and Ariana Grandes of the world in the chart, right? But that's not really the focus. And like but that's all like adjustable.
We would weigh track source, 1001 track list, not track source. 1001 track list pretty high.
And Beatport probably.
And Beatport.
If we do a Bandcamp integration, that would be in there for sure. if you have a contact to Bandcamp, feel free to put me in touch. I mean,
Yeah.
we're happy to discuss what that could look like. I
Okay.
mean, right now, our focus with all of the data sources that we did so far is like basically anything that's big crossover that is like global. We get so many requests about like regional services, like including like, let's say Pandora in the States, which is really big in the States, but it's only the States. And that's a little bit of a problem for us because it's like, is it really relevant to like artists across the world? And like, yeah, we have a lot of like subscribers from the US, but we have equally as many subscribers from other territories. So it's the same thing. Like there's a lot of Chinese services. There's like a lot of like African services coming now with Boomplay. Actually TikTok is releasing a new streaming service soon. So it's like we're trying to figure out what
Did
is
you
like.
did you read like TikTok's user terms on what they do with your data?
Oh, that's insane. I saw Joe Rogan talk about this. This
Same.
is ridiculous.
Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean, it was always clear that like a lot of this data is going to China and stuff. And I lived in China. I don't really think it's the end of the world in a way.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, for me, if you sign up for any service, honestly, like you just have to like accept that you will forever be a number in the system that that can be used to target.
But I mean, it's pretty
and
full
stuff.
on because if you're downloading a social media app and you're basically agreeing to it listening to you, that's a big line crossing. For like, if I would like to know how many users, if they actually knew that, would still go ahead and sign up, and then it starts getting like a bit conspiracy theory territory where it's like, is this a big honeypot where they made this super addictive app
just
so they could get the data, you know? And
I mean, these companies in China definitely are cooperating with the government 100%. They have to. There's no other way. So certainly maybe it's being used as a tool in a sense to spy on like Western like
whatever
with civilization. But like, I mean, yeah, listening to your conversations.
Spying on people doing the don't blink challenge. The insane don't blink challenge. So they can sell, you know, who knows what. Man, let's wrap it up there. We've pushed the 2 hour mark.
Wow.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Let's go get some lunch.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you so much, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being on the Crate Cast. It was really good to have you here. Really excited about 1001 Tracklists and really love what you guys are doing there. So shout out to the whole crew.
Thank you.
And also Songstats.
Yeah.
We've got quite a lot to catch up on with both of those projects, with what we're doing at Crate. There's going to be a lot of synergy.
It's exciting, yeah.
So I think listeners are going to start seeing a lot of collaborations happening, and they're going to know why, because they would have listened to this podcast.
Sick.
And we really love what you guys are doing, man. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Keep doing it. You know,
we'll do. We'll keep
doing
pushing.
it, man.
We have a really good team. Everyone's working hard, and yeah, if you're an aspiring artist up and coming, check out Crate, check out Songstats, and obviously 1001 Tracklists, and get your music up there.
And if you're a producer, especially, get yourself on. And some of the big guys are already playing your music. Get yourself on 1001 Tracklist because you are eligible to start putting up your playlist if you're playing in clubs. Is that right? Clubs.
That's right. Yeah, get a recording of me. I mean, upload it to Mixcloud, SoundCloud, or video recording, even better. You know. Yeah.
Okay.
Sick.
Wicked. All right, man. Peace out. Good
Thanks,
to have you, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
Awesome.